Yeah, I'll react to that. Sure. Hey guys, 9 things Americans do that Brits don't. I don't know. Let's find out. Let's go. Original link to the video, top of the description. Let's do it.
Hello, I'm Lawrence, and I'm on
Hello.
a quest to uncover all of the memos that Britain and America lost in the pond, and one of those memos pertains to
I love this channel, Lost in the Pond. Subscribe.
the things we do as people. It turns out that there are just things that people in one country do that the people in the other country do not do. And today we're going to take a look at 9 things that Americans do that Brits don't. And take that title with a grain of salt, okay? It's very much a generalization. Of course, many of the things on this list probably are practiced by some people, some pedants over in Britain. I said pedants, not peasants. But for the most part, on the whole, generally speaking, how many other ways can you say that? Americans do these things more than Brits. Now, if I'd have done this list maybe 12 years ago before I moved to the United States, there are some things I would have included that have since caught on in Britain. So, you know, baby showering or queuing up for the Black Friday sales or getting a coffee to go. So since
you guys have Black Friday over there too, I might participate just for the experience. I feel like it's just a bucket list thing to do, like go to Walmart in the early hours of Black Friday. I feel like it's you got to do it.
There's more of a level playing field in regard to those things. I'm just going to leave them off the list.
It's going to be crazy this year because of all like the shortages and the price hikes. Ooh.
Level playing field in regard to those things, I'm just going to leave them off the list. And given that we're all presently trapped in our bunkers, even the ones that did make it onto the list probably shouldn't temporarily, including this. Smiling at strangers, which I suppose is what I'm doing to you right now, so I'm a hypocrite in a way. And you know what? I think when I first encountered this is when you're walking along, say, a footpath or you're in a parkway, and someone you've never met, maybe they've got a dog, they just look at you and smile. It sounds creepy when
I definitely do this a lot. Well, I either it depends on my mood. I either am very much like looking like, hey, or I'm just probably down it with my headphones in.
I put it like that, and at first I thought I was going to get mugged, right? British people value their personal space, right? Don't enter that zone, and so whenever that happened, it was a little off-putting. But I got used to it when I realised that Americans are just really friendly, and this is a good thing, right? And so I not only came to embrace this, but I started doing it myself, and you know, people got a bit creeped out by the British teeth. I can't help that. It's just something I'm born with, and so you're going to have to accept it from now on. I must say, though, that during this sort of weird situation we find ourselves in, if anybody smiled at me while I was going out to take the trash out, I'd run for the hills. We don't have hills in Chicago, so I'd be lost. Similarly, which is a word I had to say about 10 times before I got right, Americans might greet you not only with a smile, but by saying, how are you? Or what's up? And these don't mean, you know...
we aren't really curious how you're doing. I feel like most Americans, if you say, and it's just speaking for me and one person, all right, and I'm not even a very social person, so I might be one of the worst kind of people to talk about this, but it is rarely ever, even if it's like a close friend or whatever, and not just someone, it's basically just like, hi, hey, how are you? Oh, well, you know, I was
are you okay, or anything like that. It just means hello, right? And it's exactly. In a way, it's sort of similar to how we Brits say, all right. And we're not asking if you're okay. We're simply saying hello. So in many ways, there are similarities between the two. I don't really know why that is. Are we just trying to...
You see, if someone came up to me and said, are you all right? I would think they're genuinely asking how, like, did I look glum or something like that? So that's something you'd say, like, all right? Hey, you all right?
To soften and euphemize the word hello in the same way that we would with death or going to the toilet. It's really odd when you think about it, but
yeah,
we both do
strange.
it. Should I start my videos with, all right, I'm Lawrence, and no, I won't do that. What I will do is go on to our next entry. Yes, flags. I did talk about this in a video just recently that, you know, Americans...
Love my American flag and my Rhode Island. I meant to press play, and it made it stop the video. Anyways, love my flags. Okay.
American families and houses and things like that are very prone to having the flag flying outside. And I found that it really doesn't matter which party you vote for or anything like that. People will still fly the flags regardless of that, particularly on July the 4th, but you will see it at all times of year on numerous houses. And that's not to say that we don't fly the flag in Britain, but we usually reserve that for very special occasions like football matches, which are very special occasions these days. There's just sort of maybe there's more pride in the flag here, or it symbolizes so much more, and therefore it gets used. And when I say it symbolizes so much more, I mean it really does.
I've never really thought about it.
Got the 50 stars representing each of the 50 states, and then you've got the 13 stripes representing each of the original 13 colonies. And so it's symbolic in many ways, and you know it's part of the lexicon even. You've got words like Old Glory, Stars and Stripes, and things like that. And so it's a very pervasive part of American culture. Yes, date formats, you know, again.
So if like your neighbor was flying an English flag, you'd bat an eye. Like you wouldn't even notice it here if there was an American flag flying. It would be like a tree on a lawn. So would you bat an eye if you be like, huh?
I've spoken about this before on the channel, but it's very much worthy of inclusion because when I first moved to the United States, it was very hard for me to get out of my head the British way of writing the date, which is to put the day first, the month second, and then the...
As it should be. I don't know why we do month, day, year. Why not just go up from shortest to longest?
Year, so it's sort of in order of unit, right? The smallest entity, the day, the second smallest, and then the third smallest, the year. Or is it to the largest? It's so hard to word that correctly without confusing yourself. I'm not a mathematician, and that was evident in my early days of trying to get my head around the American date format. It's not hard. I mean, you obviously just switch the day and the month around, but it's that thing you've known all your life. You're having to unlearn what you'd already learned. And eventually, working in an office every day for 5 years, the American way of doing things really did sort of cement itself in my head, and I came good on that front. And I think now if I were to move back to Britain, it'd be the other problem, and I'd have a hard time adapting. And if I tell everybody that,
I'm very curious how he adapted to driving on the right side of the road, because that was terrifying when and I wasn't even, my dad was driving. I trust, and he's left-handed, so it almost like he had his dominant hand on the left, but he's so used to driving. But I wonder how long it took him to really get used to it.
My birthday is 11/18/1981. They'll think I invented 6 more months and, you know, will kick me out of the country again for forgery. That's not what that means. Falsehoods, just general falsehoods. Oh, and while I'm on the subject of birthdays, that brings me on to our next entry. Tailgating was such an alien concept to me when I first moved to America, and in many ways it still is, and that's mainly because I don't own a truck or go to sports events.
Wait, what?
Tailgating brings me on to our next general falsehoods. Oh, and while I'm on the subject of birthdays, that brings me on to our alien because I don't own a truck or go to sports events, because that's what happens when I talk about tailgating. I'm not just talking about, you know, when you drive too closely behind another car. I'm talking about that kind of thing that Americans do at sports events outside of sports stadiums or anywhere else where they can park it, and they just casually light a barbecue and drink beer. And I mean, they look fun. It's just I've never been invited to one, so pity me. Come on, feel sorry for me. It's never happened. The best you're going to get outside of sports stadiums in Britain is people selling pirated DVDs. I
feel like it's because it's more like over there. I've said a lot in my, you know, watching football videos or you know, English football chants, and it seems like tailgating in America has to be more delegated to an area where everyone's whereas I feel like if there's a big game involving your city's team, then I'm sure everywhere in the entire city is the tailgate, or you know what I mean?
Realize actually those pirate DVD sellers they're probably struggling right now because A, there's a pandemic on, and B, no one uses DVDs anymore. Actually, I suppose nobody is doing our next entry, including me, so I'm going to leave this to Lawrence from Christmas to explain. Anybody that's followed my channel now for a while will know that I have feelings on free refills. In fact, I did an entire video about it. And while they are all the rage here, and of course you'll find them in most fast food outlets and other places, there is one clarification I have to make here. You will find free refills as an option in places like Subway in the United Kingdom. So in some capacity, America has exported it, but it is by no means as universal in the United Kingdom as it is in the United States. And as I've said before, I think the temptation of knowing that I could get a free cup of pop on top of the one that I've already had is what made me give up pop.
And
in the first place.
Oh,
So
really?
I do.
And like if you're gonna sit down, and I guess it doesn't happen too often in a fast food place, but I guess any incentive is that just if you have like 4 people, one person order a drink, or like people, especially when you're a teenager, you'd order a water and just fill it up with soda all the time.
Do have that to thank America for. Of course, if you are American and you have the willpower to stay away from the free refills, more power to you. Free refills or not, Americans do like their water to be very cold, and I'm not talking about their bath water.
I have to talk to you guys. So over in Europe, I'm not saying that that New England's water is better. To me, it's better. I couldn't stand the water, the tap water in Europe. I think I stopped drinking after or even the bottled water. I wasn't a huge fan. That was one of the biggest. I love water. You probably see me with a giant jug all the time. I buy these, and sometimes I'll even refill the same one. And Rhode Island tap water is really delicious. And even more surprisingly, I went to school in New York City for a few years. New York City tap water is even better than the tap water I grew up with. And I drink it a ton. And so when I went over to Europe, you need to buy bottled water. And to me, I always wasn't a big fan. But again, I'm not saying it's better. It's just to my preference. Water's a big deal. I love drinking it, and I really disliked the water in Europe. I'd have to say that was my least favorite part.
So can you imagine having an ice bath? Do they? That is weird. But they put lots of ice in their water occasionally, and you'll find this happening in restaurants, but people will do it in the comfort of their own homes too. And this was somewhat of an alien concept to me before I moved to the US. I think maybe it's because we live in a mildish climate in Britain. We don't feel the need to do that. And the water in Britain tends to come out of the tap quite cold anyway, so that usually suffices. But actually, I have come to appreciate this one because during the summertime in Chicago, or previously where I lived in Indiana, it gets very, very hot. Sometimes it can get over 100 degrees Fahrenheit. And if you go out for a run in that weather, and that's not me, I don't run, but if you do, you're going to perspire like crazy, right? So not only do you need just water in general, it is nice to have it with ice in it because it cools you down. Like it's ice cold, and you're catching your breath because it's going so dry.
Unless honestly, if I'm working out, I probably wouldn't want ice water because, well, I prefer it to a warm room temperature. Maybe just because you want to chug water, and it's kind of painful to chug ice water
from all the heat. They'll even buy bags of ice here in America. You can actually buy bags of ice from the store.
You can't in the UK?
I still don't know why people do that.
Or like when you're going to a beach or to a cookout, a barbecue or something, to have a cooler with a bunch of drinks in it, and you put ice in it, or you're going to the beach and you need it's for coolers, mainly if you're having like a party or something where you're not going to have either enough room in the fridge or not a fridge available.
I know, because you have ice trays and you put them in the freezer. Am I missing something?
So that you can have ice for a party.
Oh, right. Like a tailgating party, or just generally a party?
Any party.
Any party in the summer.
Or winter.
Who has ice?
I love his wife.
In the winter.
That is his wife.
I mean, in the drink.
Floridians?
That's true. Is it even winter in Florida, though, when it's winter here?
Yes, but no.
I saw a picture of alligators, like, in ice, but they're fine, though. Like, they stick their snouts out and hibernate.
Not the same. This one seemed really strange for the first few months of living in America. People going out to the store in their pajamas and sweatpants and things like that. It's as if they don't care about what they look like while, you know, traversing Walmart, which I can understand. It's not really something you'd find back in Britain. I'm not saying we dress our Sunday best to go shopping, but we at least make an effort, put on jeans and a t-shirt.
No.
You know.
Again, different person to person. Me. I'm pretty lazy. And I went on a rant about jeans and khakis. But I mean, if you're thinking about pajamas, like someone with like a teddy bear and a hat and a two-piece matching, it's not like that. But you know, yeah, you wake up, especially if I was in New York, which would be odd because you're around even more people. I feel like when you're around even more people, you tend to care even less.
You will see people going out in their gym jams, their jammies, PJs, right? And I'm not exempt from that, especially right now. I mean, I don't care I want people to avoid me. So of course I go out in my pajamas or anything. I went out in this the other day. These aren't my pajamas. That's just me looking like a...
Oh, he's got nice eyes. Strange eyes in a good way. Very gray.
Sith Lord, a dime store Sith Lord, but not nonetheless a Sith Lord. And I suppose in many ways it speaks to that American tendency toward comfort. But this is not...
I love your eyes, Lawrence.
Not just a pandemic era thing. I mean, people have been doing this for centuries, probably.
Pajamas?
Yeah.
I feel like that started in the 90s.
So there weren't people going in the 19th century going out with their sort of sleeping cap on and things like that?
No.
To their local blacksmiths or whatever. That's it. Thank you for watching this episode of Lost in the Pond. Don't forget to follow me right here on YouTube so that my videos don't get lost in the pond. What are you laughing at? I know it looked like a crotch chop. I didn't mean to do that. Anyway, so if you liked what you saw here, follow me on Twitter at Lost in the Pond US. You'll get a lot of these sort of weird factoids about my life here in America. Oh, and also what you heard in this video, I talk to my patrons about all the time on our secret live stream. If you want to be a part of that community and if you want to get the lowdown before anybody else, why not become a patron of this channel and help support us, help us grow? You can do so at patreon.com/lostinthepond. That's it. Stay home, stay safe, and stay smiling at strangers on your Zoom call. Bye. Thank you for...
Awesome. Awesome. Blossom. Extra awesome. All right. Yeah, that was interesting. See you guys next. One of you guys said, you know, sometimes save comments for at the end of the video. I'm going to forget if I save my comments for the end of the video. It's not. Hope you guys are having a good day. If not, you'll be good soon. Don't worry. See ya.